Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so you friends see it. Thank you.
Trump floats idea to secure elections. It's always good to have a paper backup. President Donald Trump has one idea to blunt the impact of Russian meddling in U.S. elections. It's called paper. One of the things we're learning is, it's always good, it's old-fashioned, but it's always good to have a paper backup system of voting, the president said Tuesday during a joint press conference with Swedish Prime Minister Stefan Löfven. It's called paper. Not highly complex computers, paper. A lot of states are doing that. They're going to a paper backup. And I think that's a great idea. We're studying it closely. Various agencies, including Homeland Security, are studying it very carefully. Trump, who has acknowledged Russia meddled in the 2016 election but has said his team was not involved in the effort, has been adamant that Russia had no impact on votes. He told reporters Tuesday that other countries probably were involved in presidential election meddling as well. The Russians had no impact on our votes whatsoever. But certainly there was meddling, and probably there was meddling from other countries, maybe other individuals, he said. We won't allow that to happen. We're doing a very, very deep study and coming out with very strong suggestions on the 2018 election. I think we will do very well in the 2018 election. The president has blamed numerous parties for the Russian influence on U.S. campaigns, especially his predecessor, Barack Obama. Director of National Intelligence Dan Coates said the U.S. would announce new Russia sanctions soon, saying the chances of meddling in the 2018 midterm elections were highly likely. We have not seen evidence of a robust effort yet on the part of Russia, but we know their malign activities continue to exist, Coates said during a Senate hearing. It's highly likely that they will be doing something. We just don't know how much and when and where. Trump said, however, the U.S. will counteract it. We'll counteract it very strongly, and we are having strong backup systems, he said. We have been working, we haven't been given credit for this, but we've been working very hard on the 2018 election. And the 2020 election coming up. Doug Collins makes play for judiciary chairmanship. Representative Doug Collins is quietly laying the groundwork to run for House Judiciary Chairman next year, buttonholing colleagues who choose panel chairs and showcasing his legislative acumen. The conservative Georgia Republican is the first to officially jump in for the powerful post, which will be open with the retirement of Chairman Bob Goodlatte, Republican Virginia, at the end of the year. Collins has notified leadership of his intention to run, and he's going public with his sales pitch. While Collins is not next in line in seniority on the panel, the significant number of departures on the committee and his close ties to GOP leaders give Collins a strong shot at the job, according to senior Republican sources. The best thing I can offer is my work ethic and to make sure that we're legislative while we're here, Collins said in a recent interview. I think the issue we've got to deal with is, how do we get to the art of finding legislation that helps people and moving it forward? Instead of focusing on what we can't do, we should focus on what we can. Collins is already trying to demonstrate his lawmaking chops on two major bills that could see floor action this year. The 51-year-old former lawyer has been working with President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, on a criminal justice reform bill that Trump supports. And as vice chairman of the panel's Intellectual Property Subcommittee, he's spent the past 18 months meeting with music industry executives and songwriters and has drafted a complete overhaul of music industry copyright laws. Perhaps most importantly, as vice chairman of the House Republican Conference, he's already part of leadership and enjoys a close relationship with many of the senior lawmakers on the Republican Steering Committee, which selects committee chairs. Collins hails from a deep red district but has made allies across the conference by campaigning for more vulnerable moderate Republicans, including Brian Most of Florida and Don Bacon of Nebraska. He's also sought to boost the GOP in special elections this Congress, making trips to Pennsylvania to help struggling candidate Rick Cohn and Georgia to support now Representative Karen Handel. Collins' early move to climb the ladder comes as a series of top judiciary Republicans have announced their retirements, including Goodlatte, Trey Gowdy of South Carolina, Darrell Issa of California, and Lamar Smith and Ted Poe, both of Texas. Representative Raul Labrador, a former immigration lawyer who sits on the committee, is leaving Congress to run for Idaho governor. Representative Jim Sensenbrenner of Wisconsin, the most senior lawmaker after Goodlatte, has already held the gavel. Collins could face some competition from Ohio Representative Steve Chabot, who is far more senior than Collins. Chabot expressed interest in the job in a statement for this story. "I have had productive conversations with members who have encouraged me to pursue the chairmanship and I am exploring the possibility," he said. Seniority, however, is not the only factor in picking chairman in the House GOP conference. The steering committee also chooses based on relationships with leadership, ability to fundraise and a member's generosity with the National Republican Congressional Committee. That's largely why Reps. Jim Jordan of Ohio, Steve King of Iowa and Louis Gohmert of Texas, more senior than Collins but frequent political bomb throwers, are unlikely to win support with the border conference under the current steering process. Before Collins was elected to Congress in 2012, the Gainesville, Georgia, native owned a scrapbooking company and ran his own law firm. He attended divinity school at the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, joined the Air Force Reserve and deployed to Iraq as a military chaplain. He also served in the Georgia State House. As Judiciary Chairman, Collins said his approach would be to move legislation that can pass, not wait for perfection. Case in point, his criminal justice reform bill. Collins' proposal would give prisoners an opportunity to gain skills while serving their sentences, in hopes of making them more employable after they are released and reducing recidivism rates. Many Republicans, including Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, Republican Iowa, also want to decrease mandatory minimums for certain nonviolent drug-related offenses, an idea Collins supports. But it's a non-starter with this law and order president. Instead of trying to advance what Trump won't sign, Collins worked with Kushner and Senate Majority Whip John Cornyn, Republican Texas, on prison overhaul legislation that doesn't touch mandatory minimums. The bill has the backing of the White House, which has asked Goodlatte to take up the legislation, and Trump gave the idea a shout-out during his State of the Union address in January. "For me this is simply a money and morals issue. We're spending a lot of money incarcerating these people, but they also need a second chance from whatever background or mistake that they got themselves into," Collins said. Collins also has spent much of the past year writing a massive bill modernizing music copyright laws, which would simplify the digital licensing process and ensure that music rights holders are paid for the use of their work. Goodlatte is expected to package the bill with several others and pass it out of his committee in the coming weeks. If Republicans end up losing the House this fall, Collins' job would look very different, of course. In that case, the next top judiciary Republican could become Trump's #1 defender in potential impeachment proceedings. Asked about that possibility, Collins demurred. "At this point, I'm one of those who thinks we won't lose the House," Collins said. "So I'll cross that bridge when we get there." Gary Cohn resigning as top White House economic advisor. Gary Cohn is resigning as National Economic Council Director amid a battle over tariffs within the Trump administration, the White House said Tuesday. "It has been an honor to serve my country and enact pro-growth economic policies to benefit the American people, in particular the passage of historic tax reform," Cohn said in a statement provided by the White House. "I am grateful to the President for giving me this opportunity and wish him and the administration great success in the future." Cohn, who left his post as President and Chief Operating Officer at Goldman Sachs to join the White House in 2017, had urged Trump not to impose steep tariffs. He was widely seen as likely to exit after Trump announced plans to impose a 25% tariff on steel imports and a 10% tariff on aluminum imports. His next steps are unclear. A person familiar with Cohn's thinking said he had not ruled out a return to Wall Street. Cohn's decision caps an uneven tenure in the White House. He almost quit his job last year over the president's comments about a white supremacist march in Charlottesville, Virginia, even drafting resignation letters. But he stayed, and he landed a policy victory with a passage late last year of the Republican tax plan. Cohn told staff that he was resigning during a meeting late Tuesday afternoon, according to a White House official who was there. "We weren't necessarily bowled over by the news because we knew it was going to happen at some point," the official said. "But it happened a little more quickly than we thought." Cohn's resignation came after Trump repeatedly sought to downplay reports of discord in his administration, tweeting earlier Tuesday that claims of chaos in the White House were fake news. But Trump also alluded to looming changes to West Wing personnel, saying, "I still have some people that I want to change, always seeking perfection." On Tuesday night, he tweeted specifically about Cohn's position, "We'll be making a decision soon on the appointment of new chief economic advisor. Many people wanting the job, will choose wisely." Several high-profile White House staffers have left or announced plans to leave, including Communications Director Hope Hicks and Dinah Powell, a fellow Goldman Sachs alum who became Deputy National Security Advisor. Pressed on the matter during a press conference with the Swedish Prime Minister, Trump said there was tremendous energy in the White House and that many people want every single job. "Believe me, everybody wants to work in the White House. They all want a piece of that Oval Office, they want a piece of the West Wing," Trump told reporters. "And not only in terms of it looks great on their resume, it's just a great place to work." During the summit Tuesday, Trump again voiced his intention to impose new tariffs, even though the idea has been widely criticized by Republicans and by free trade supporters in the administration. Cohn and his backers launched a last-ditch effort to change Trump's mind, planning a White House meeting for Thursday with executives from industries likely to be hurt by big tariffs on imported steel and aluminum. The administration appears to still be working through the details of the tariffs. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said Tuesday that Canada and Mexico could be carved out, depending on how trade talks go with those countries. One White House official said Cohn's exit did not mean the details of tariff proposal were set in stone. Trump told reporters Tuesday that the administration had no choice but to move forward, even after European leaders vowed to respond with their own punitive economic measures against the U.S. "I am convinced that increased tariffs will hurt us all in the long run," Swedish Prime Minister Stefan Löfven said at the press conference. Cohn had been discussing leaving for several weeks, the White House said, adding that he would leave in the next few weeks. The person familiar with Cohn's thinking said he will remain in the administration for at least another week to continue to work on Trump's tariffs proposal. Though Cohn has not yet determined what his next steps will be, the person said, several Fortune 500 companies have reached out to him. Goldman Sachs CEO Lloyd Blankfein, who Cohn worked under during his time at the company, reacted to news of the resignation by praising his work in the administration. "Gary Cohn deserves credit for serving his country in a first-class way," Blankfein tweeted. "I'm sure I join many others who are disappointed to see him leave." Matthew Nussbaum and Andrew Ristusa contributed to this report. McConnell hits at Trump's tariffs. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell on Tuesday took aim at President Donald Trump's steel and aluminum tariffs, marking his first public comments on Trump's polarizing proposal. There is a lot of concern among Republican senators that this could sort of metastasize into a larger trade war, and many of our members are discussing with the administration just how broad, how sweeping this might be, the Kentucky Republican told reporters. And there's a high level of concern about interfering with what appears to be an economy that's taking off in every respect. The president shocked Republicans on the Hill last week when he announced that he would impose tariffs on steel and aluminum. Other nations have threatened to retaliate, and congressional Republicans have warned the president against taking such action. Speaker Paul Ryan had previously expressed concern with new tariffs. Despite pressure from inside Congress as well as within the White House, the president has insisted that he won't back down. He has signaled some willingness to exempt Canada and Mexico from tariffs if the trio of nations can successfully renegotiate the North American Free Trade Agreement, though that will be difficult. From a Kentucky point of view, NAFTA's been a big winner, McConnell said. We've benefited from it in every way, and so I think the best way to characterize where most Republican senators are right now, including myself, is genuine concern that this knot has coalesced into something much broader. Asked if the president's controversial decision to slap tariffs of 25% on steel and 10% on aluminum imports could muddle Republicans' midterm campaign message as they continue to sell their tax cuts bill, McConnell urged patience. I think we need to wait and see what the White House finally decides to do on this, he said.